What happens when a housewife from Ohio transforms herself into one of the most groundbreaking comedians in Hollywood history? You get Phyllis Diller and some of the most uniquely entertaining homes ever owned by a celebrity. Born in Lima, Ohio in 1917, this trailblazing entertainer didn't step onto a comedy stage until she was 37 years old. Yet from that moment in 1955 at San Francisco's Purple Onion nightclub, she revolutionized stand-up comedy and became one of the first female comedians to achieve household name status. With her wild wigs, cackling laugh, and self-deprecating humor about her fictional husband Fang, Diller shattered gender barriers in a male-dominated industry and paved the way for comedy giants like Joan Rivers, Ellen DeGeneres, and Roseanne Barr. But Diller wasn't just a comedian. She was a classically trained musician, accomplished artist, prolific author, and shrewd real estate investor. Her career spanned over 5 decades, during which she appeared in more than 40 films, countless television shows, and authored several best-selling books. She was also one of the first celebrities to openly embrace plastic surgery, making it part of her comedic repertoire. When she passed away in 2012, at age 95, she left behind not only a revolutionary comedy legacy, but also a stunning real estate portfolio. At the time of her death, Phyllis Diller's net worth was estimated at $18 million, accumulated through her diverse entertainment career and smart property investments. Her most famous residence, a magnificent Brentwood estate that she called home for nearly 5 decades, became as legendary as her comedy routines. Let's step inside the homes where this comedy icon lived, laughed, and created the material that would influence generations of performers. Phyllis Diller's crown jewel was her spectacular Brentwood estate, a property that perfectly embodied her unique personality and served as both home and creative sanctuary. She purchased this 8-bedroom, 5-bathroom country English-style mansion in 1965, and it became her primary residence for the rest of her life. The timing was significant. 1965 was also the year she divorced her first husband, Sherwood Diller, marking a new chapter of independence and success. The sprawling estate encompassed over 9,200 square feet of living space on 1.25 acres of prime Los Angeles real estate. But what made this house truly extraordinary wasn't just its size or location, it was how Diller transformed it into a reflection of her comedic genius and multifaceted personality. The home was originally built in 1914 as a summer residence for Lawrence C. Phipps, a steel industry magnate who served as a U.S. Senator from Colorado from 1919 to 1931. When Diller acquired the property, she began a decades-long process of personalizing every inch to reflect her varied pursuits and irrepressible sense of humor. Perhaps no room in celebrity real estate history is as iconic as Phyllis Diller's wig room. Much was made about Candy Spelling's The Manor having had multiple gift-wrapping rooms, but nothing made trump Diller devoting a room to storing the many wigs she wore. This wasn't just storage, it was a shrine to her stage persona. The wig room housed hundreds of the wild, outrageous hairpieces that became synonymous with her comedy act. These weren't just props, they were carefully curated extensions of her comedic character. From blonde fright wigs to multicolored confections that defied gravity, each piece represented a different aspect of her stage persona. The room became so famous that it was often mentioned in the same breath as the comedian herself. Diller considered comic actor Bob Hope her mentor and called her living room the Bob Hope Salon. A large oil painting of Hope is featured prominently in the room, a gift from her comedian friend. This wasn't just celebrity name-dropping. Hope and Diller had a genuine friendship and professional relationship that spanned decades. The Bob Hope Salon served as the heart of the home's entertainment spaces. Here, Diller would host fellow entertainers, and the room was designed to honor the man who had given her some of her biggest career breaks. Hope featured Diller in 3 of his films and over 20 television specials, making their friendship one of the most important relationships in her career. While the public knew Diller as a comedian, she was also a classically trained musician who played the piano, organ, and harpsichord. The back room, which did double duty as an office and salon, held a baby grand piano. This room represented the sophisticated side of Diller that audiences rarely saw. Her baby grand sat on a stage at one end of the room. This wasn't just for show. Diller was a serious musician who had studied at the Sherwood Music Conservatory in Chicago for 3 years before shifting her focus to comedy. The back room allowed her to maintain her connection to classical music while serving as a workspace where she could write and refine her comedy material. Diller also named many of her home's 22 rooms. Her sense of humor extended far beyond the stage and into every corner of her home. Some room names were takes on sight gags. A yellow guest room was called the Canary Suite. The red-walled kitchen became the Scarlet Scullery. A room with an organ in it was the Pump Room. A powder room was named after Edith Head, the Academy Award-winning costume designer, and there was a mirrored telephone room, known as the John Wilkes Booth. These names weren't just whimsical, they reflected Diller's sharp wit and her ability to find humor in everyday situations, the very quality that made her comedy so relatable to audiences. An upstairs gallery is filled with Diller's artwork in oil, acrylics, and watercolor, and the walls in many rooms of the 8-bedroom, 5-bathroom home are lined with art. Diller began painting in 1963 and became quite accomplished, often hosting art parties at her home where she would sell her works to friends and fans. The creative spaces throughout the home reflected her artistic pursuits beyond comedy. She was a serious visual artist who found painting to be both a creative outlet and a source of additional income. These rooms showcased her range as an artist and provided spaces where she could pursue her various creative interests. When Diller passed away in 2012, the estate management revealed just how valuable her real estate had become. Her Los Angeles house, which she bought in 1965, was listed at $12.9 million. This represented an extraordinary appreciation in value over the nearly 5 decades she owned the property. The Brentwood estate became more than just a celebrity home. It was a cultural landmark that represented the changing role of women in entertainment. When Diller bought the property in 1965, female comedians were virtually non-existent in stand-up comedy. By the time she passed away in 2012, she had not only carved out her own space in the industry, but had created a path for countless others to follow. The house served as a meeting place for entertainers and a creative sanctuary where Diller could develop the material that would influence generations of performers. The personalized room names, the wig collection, and the creative spaces all reflected her belief that humor should be woven into every aspect of life. The $18 million net worth she accumulated, anchored by her smart real estate investments, proves that Diller was as savvy about business as she was about comedy. Her homes represented not just personal success, but the broader cultural shift that allowed women to break into previously male-dominated fields and create their own paths to success. Today, as we tour these remarkable properties, we're reminded that behind every great entertainer is often an equally great home, a place where creativity flourishes, where personalities are fully expressed, and where the magic that entertains millions is born. Phyllis Diller's homes were all of these things and more, serving as the perfect backdrop for a life that changed comedy forever. If you enjoyed this peek inside the homes of this comedy legend, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more celebrity home tours that reveal the fascinating stories behind the stars we love.